So welcome to my new video. Our today's question is Sudoku solver. This is Leetcode 37 question. We have to write a program to solve the Sudoku puzzle by filling the empty cells, and you have to must satisfy all following rules. The Sudoku is a game, so we all know the rules. Let me explain you. In each row, the digits are from 1 to 9 and only for one time, not repeated, okay? And each of the digit from 1 to 9 must occur exactly one in each column also, and each of the digit from 1 to 9 must occur exactly once in each of the 3 by 3 sub boxes of the grid, okay? And the character that are like dotted are indicates empty cell, okay? So let me explain you the question. So this is the question. So you are given 9 cross 9 matrix, right? So you have to find the solution for it. So you have to fill all the empty cells, right? These are the empty cells you have to fill, and after filling like every cell, this cell, like these all their cells, all empty cells, you have to return the valid Sudoku, okay? After solving this question, so let me explain you. For this empty cell, right? For this empty cell we have a 9 options. Like for this empty cell we can put over here 1, we can put 2, we can put 3, we can put 4, uh, to the 9, okay? So if we put, and for putting every one, like choosing from 1 to 9, we also have to determine if it is valid or not, okay? So for 1 we have to check it if it is appear in row or not, okay? So for putting 1 over here, no, in row there is a 1, so we can put. So we have to check three condition. If the value is not present in row, also in a column, and also 3 by 3 matrix, okay, we can write a function is valid. So I am going to write this function after. Let for now just consider is valid function, okay? This function will return us true or false. We can put this value or not, this function just return that, okay? So for every value we have 9 options from 1 to 9, right? And for if you put like 2 over here, okay, so for 2 we can put 2 over here, because there in this row there is no 2, in this column there is no 2, and in this grid 3 by 3 grid there also not 2, okay? If you to pick a choose 2, then we can write 2 over here, right? Now for we have to solve for next row and column, okay? So how we can get our next row and next column? What, like we are creating one function, okay? So the function name is helper function. Whatever say, you can say helper function, right? In helper function we have a row and column, right? For next row and column, how we can get it? Our next row will be nothing but, you can say, in this row our next row is this, so row is not changing, right? So the row is same row, right? But next column was changing, right? Next column was changing. This is the first column, now the next column was this, so the next column is column plus 1, okay? But what after we are on here, okay, this last index of like row in the next cell is this, okay? This is, so if we are increasing our column, so our column is going to 9, the value of column is 9, right? This is the 8th column, so our value of column was 9. After 9, if our column reach end, so we have to change our values, right? So we can write over here, if our next column is equal to 9, that means we are out of bound, we have to set our values, right? So our next row is nothing but row plus 1, right? Row plus 1. So when we are on here, our row increased by 1 and we are reach here, and our column was this, right? So this is our column, and this column value is 0, okay? So we are writing next column was 0, right? So this is the function. So we can get over here, okay, this is the function, right? This is the helper function we can write, right, to get our next row and column. So when we are on here, we are again calling for we put two over here. Now for this next row and column, we are again calling our helper function to solve if it is give us true or false. True means it fill every row and column, and it reach to the ninth row. Means it fill all the, it fill it fill all the columns, right? It fill all the rows and column, right? So we have to return true, okay? So let's see on here, okay, what we can put over here. We can put like from, again we have options like 1 2 3 to 9, okay? So what we can put, let's try, okay? We can put 1, no, because the 1 is not valid, because this is 1, right? We can't put 2, right? Also we can't put 3 because 3 is over here, we can't put 4, we can't put 5 because 5 is also here, we can't put 6 because 6 is also here, we can't put 7. Okay, now for 8 we can put 8, no, because there is 8. And for 9 we can't put 9 over here because 9 is over here. So what, because of like we can't able to put anything, so we return false. But if you see in a real question solve, we have to put over here 1, right? We can put over here because in previous value we put 2 because we can put 2, right? So we have to backtrack, and now we have to change our value 2 to 9, like 2 to 3 4 5 6 we have to try. So we can backtrack to this number. Okay, so let me show you in the code to understand it very clearly. Okay, 1 second. So this is the code. Okay, so we are trying out every possible. Okay, so we are trying out in every row, we are trying out every possible. Okay, we are trying to put 1 over here, 2 9. Okay, if our board is like our digit is valid in, if it is not in row, if it is not in column, and if it is not in our 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, so we are putting board row comma column, we are putting it, and we are uh, we assume that our helper function will return us true. Okay, so if our helper function will return true means every value row comma is filled, that means we are returning true. Okay, if it is return as false, that means this value is invalid, whatever the value of digit we put here, this is wrong, so we'll backtrack. This is the main funda. Okay, this is the main funda. So we will backtrack and remove our value. Okay, we just put dot over here, right? And our iteration will move on. Okay, our iteration goes to 2, then we try to put over here 2, then we try to put over 4. Okay, if our this value is right, then our helper function will return us true. Okay, so now this is, you understand what we have to do, right? And our base case is nothing but when our row is equal to 9, right? Row is equal to 9 means we filled out every row, right? We filled out 8 rows, 0 to 8 rows mean we filled out 9 rows, that means we filled out all the Sudoku values and we are done. Okay, if our row reach to 9, that means we have to return true. Okay, so now let me show you the code. Okay, then also we have to write the helper function, like what is valid function. Okay, so this is also we have to write. Let me first show you the helper function. Okay, so we have to write helper function. Helper, we have to return board row comma column, right? So now we have to write helper function, boolean function, boolean helper, right? So we get like board, character of board, board is of character, board board, right? 2D matrix, and row comma column, right? Int column, and our row value is starting is 0, our row value is starting was 0, right? So we have to, like I wrote, if our row whenever it is like 9, that means we filled our all the values, right? So we have to return true, right? Now our next row is nothing but row, and our next column, the next column is column plus 1. Okay, if our column is reached to ninth column, that means we have to again traverse on next row and first column, right? We are out of bound, then the case. Okay, so our next column becomes, whenever our next column becomes 9, then our next row will row plus 1, and our next column is 0, right? This is our next row and next column. Now if our board of row and column value, if it is not equal to dot, that means this is already filled, so we just have to return this is already filled, right? So we have to return our helper function for next row and next column, right? Because this value is already filled, this is valid value, so we have to go on next row and next column, try to fill these values, right? So our next row is nothing, helper function will board, and row become next row, and column become next column, right? This is next row and next column, right? If this value is not filled, then we have to try all the possible values, right? For like digit from 1 to 1 to 9, right? We have to try all the possible values, right? 1 to 9, right? And digit plus plus, right? So we have to check if it is valid. I am going to write this function at the end, okay? If it is valid, to put that digit board for this row, for this column, and this is the digit, okay? If it is valid, then what we have to do? Simple, we can put it board of row comma column. This is column, right? So we have to put this digit, okay? And after putting this, we have to solve for next row and next column, okay? Next index, right? So helper function, helper for board comma row, this is next row and next column, right? Next row and next column, right? And if this function returns us true, then we have to return true, okay? If this function returns us true, we can return true, okay? But if this function returns us false, that means we have to backtrack, and for row and column we are putting same the value, okay? Dot means this value is empty, right? If we are not able to put all the values from 1 to 9, that means we have to return false, right? Now let's look at the is valid function, right? Now is valid function is very simple, guys. So is valid function is nothing but you have to check for every value, right? For like, see, if we have to check for any cell 4, so we have to check for in this column. In this column, this is not going to appear. If it 4 appears, then we have to return false. In this row, if this appears, we have to return false, okay? So we can write this, okay? And for 3 by 3 block, I am going to explain. This is like tricky part, okay? So we have to rewrite our valid function, okay? Boolean is valid, okay? Is valid function, it will take our board row column plus digit, right? Character digit, the digit is in the characters, right? So now we have to loop for row like from 1 to 9, right? For but if you want to traverse and row, that means the row is still but the column was changing, right? Let me show you. If you wanted to traverse on this row, the row is same, okay, 4, but the column was changing, 0 column, 1 column, 2 3 4 2 9, okay? Similar for column, right? So we have to loop from equal to 0, I less than 9, and I plus plus, okay? So if board of, so row is still, right? But row is same, but the column was changing. If it is equal to digit, that means we can't put it, because in every row there is appearance of this digit is for only one times, okay? So we have to return false. Similar, this is for row. For column, what is the still, the column is same but the row was changing. Let me show you, okay? For column, let's see, for this column, the column was still, okay, same. This is the 5th column and column was same, but the row was changing, 0 1 2 3, right? So let me show you. Let's write the code, right? So the row was changing but column was same, if it, right? And now for the 3 by 3 matrix, this is like hard part, not hard part, but let's see, okay? For any matrix, this is like 3 by 3 matrix, like this is the 3 by 3 matrix, right? This is like 3 by 3 matrix. If you are on 0th cell, we can check for this cell, right? If we get the starting column and starting row of every 3 by 3 matrix, like what the matrix, like if we get this value, okay, this value, these are the values that we care about, okay? Starting row and starting column, okay? For any row and any column, if we get this value, we can just run a loop for 3 times, okay? Like we can cover this 3 times, okay? Like for writing two loop for 3 times, we can cover our this value, okay? And how to get this value, guys? This is very simple, okay? So we are converting 9 by 9 matrix into 3 by 3, right? Like this is like 3 by 3 matrix, so we have to divide it. So formula is this, okay? So let me give you, like directly give you the formula. Like we have to just divide I by 3, then multiply by 3. For row, this is our starting row, and for starting column, j by 3 into 3, this like let me show you the example. For like 7 comma 4, this is 7th row and this is like 4th column row. Okay, so for this, watch our starting row and starting column. This is like 6th row and 3rd column, right? So let me show you, like 7 divided by 3 multiplied by 3, then again 4 divided by 3 multiplied by 3. This is nothing but 7 divided by 3 is 2, 2 into 6, 3, 6, right? So we get our 6th row, and for column 4 by 3 is 1 multiplied by 3 is 3, right? So 6 by 3. So this is our row. Okay, so we get our row and column. So this is the part. Now let's write the code. Okay, so our starting row was nothing but row divided by 3 multiplied by 3. Okay, so this is our starting row. For starting column, the starting column is nothing but the column divided by 3 multiplied by 3. Okay, now we have to write for 3 times. Okay, so I is equal to starting row, I less than starting row plus 3. Okay, I plus plus, we have to write for 3 by 3 matrix, so we have to run 2 loops. That is the part. Okay, so j is nothing but starting column, and j less than starting column plus 3 and j plus plus. By writing these 2 loops, we are targeting 9 elements. Okay, so this first loop runs for 3 times, second loop runs from 3 times, and we are covering that box. Okay, so we have to just write the same thing, I and j. So we are at the end of the day, if it doesn't return false, we have to return true. Okay, so let's try to run it. Yeah, I have a network. Okay, what new row is row? Sorry, this is syntactical errors, guys. Yeah, this is running. If you like the video, then do subscribe to my channel. And at the end of the day, like at the end, I'm going to explain you the overall approach. Okay, so we are on the board. Okay, if we reach 9th row, means we filled all the values, then we have to return true. Our next row is row, next column is column plus 1, and if we reach the end, then we have to add our we have to go on next row. Okay, and if the row was already filled, then we have to go to next row. Okay, and we are trying from every element, okay, digit from 1 to 9. If it is valid, if it is valid there, then we are putting it. Okay, and our help, then we are trying to put on next element. If this is true, then we are returning true. Okay, if it is not, then we are backtracking it and try all other options. And the valid is valid function is simple. We have to check row, column, and that box. Thank you so much for watching.